Well, bad faith is simply unreasonable denial. And I'll just give you a couple of examples that in this case, her doctor had written 3 letters saying she's disabled and explaining why. The industry standard is to give significant weight to the treating doctor unless there's a very good reason not to, and they failed to do that. In terms of how they selectively seized upon facts, one example is that they said, well, she was taking prednisone, and the records indicated that it was successful in alleviating her symptoms. Well, very early on, there was a time when it worked, and then the records reflected it stopped working, and she took increasing dosages which were ineffective. The frequency of symptoms and the severity of symptoms increased, and she was having severe adverse reactions to the prednisone. And so, yes, it is true, for a very finite time, prednisone worked, but as her illness worsened, prednisone became less effective. So they seize upon a very isolated, people use the term cherry-picked, and ignore all the other evidence. Well, I'll go through a few very quickly.
Okay.
One is a bad policy, a definition that does not comply with California law, which is, just so you know, if your insurance company says you can work, you are disabled unless you could work full-time with reasonable continuity, performing all your material job duties in the usual and customary way. The standard policy clearly veers from that. Another thing, if you want me to continue, that the insurance companies do, our expert was...
So it's the way they write their policy.
The policies are written in violation of California law, and the DOI is not doing its job to keep these out of the market.
What if the policy, and some policies are pretty clear, they just don't pay? That's a pretty standard tactic, isn't it?
Yes, one thing that they tip, no matter how bad your symptoms are, they'll write, you have mild lupus, or mild this, mild that. Well, mild for lupus, see, severe lupus is organ failure. You know, that means you're dying. So compared to somebody dying, her symptoms, like a mild heart attack or mild brain damage, they are conditions that obviously can be tremendously disabling. Cass's mild symptoms were utterly incapacitating. No one could have worked. And one of the jurors said to me after the case, how could anybody think she could work with those symptoms? So they're mild compared to organ failure. Yes, well, don't forget, you have a corporation worth billions. It has board-certified physicians saying you're not disabled, despite the fact the person knows they're deathly ill. It has vocational people redefining their job. It will obtain statements from their own doctor that the person's not disabled, and you wonder how in the world did that happen. So you have somebody who was probably in many ways at the lowest point of their life, now having to take on a mega corporation that seems to hold all the cards. And that's actually not true. So my last thought, the truth's really powerful. It's incredibly powerful. And the jurors, most of them want to be reasonable. Most of them are reasonable. Most of them want to do the right thing. So if you go into the courtroom with the truth, and you present your case in a clear and effective way, most of the time, you're going to do very well.
Yeah, congratulations again on your win, your verdict. And we want to thank you very much for spending time with us on the show. Thank you.
Thank you very much.